Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Bank Shot Breakdown. We're going to go over 5 college basketball games for Wednesday, February 8th, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my $15 Bank Shot best bet, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Wednesday in college basketball. First up, we go to the Big Ten as Penn State takes on Wisconsin. This one's going to be 8:30 Eastern. It's going to be on the Big Ten Network. Both teams are struggling right now. We see Penn State has lost 3 of its last 4, while Wisconsin has lost 4 of its last 5. But I do think both teams match up pretty evenly on paper. You see Wisconsin and Penn State both in the top 5 in the country in turnover percentage on offense, so neither team really makes a ton of mistakes, but neither team is very aggressive on the offensive glass. They don't get to the free throw line much, and they're both pretty good defensive rebounding teams. And we saw, these teams match up pretty evenly on paper, and we saw a pretty even matchup in the first meeting between these two back on January 17th. It was a 3-point win for Wisconsin. Both teams shot pretty well from 3-point range in that one. Penn State 8 of 20, 40%. Wisconsin 7 of 17 for 41.2%. I don't expect really too much different in this game. I think we're going to see a pretty close game. And with Penn State struggling as of late, losing those 3 to the 4, like I mentioned, I just wouldn't want to lay this kind of number with them, even at home. So I think we're going to see a very close game that goes down to the wire, maybe the final possession. And I'm going to take the points here with Wisconsin, as I think they have a fighting chance to win this game outright. If not, lose it by 2-3 points. Next up, we go to the American Athletic Conference as UCF Central Florida takes on Wichita State. This one's going to be 8 o'clock Eastern. It's going to be on ESPN+. UCF has lost 5 straight games, and granted, some of those losses to some tough teams in Tulane, Houston, and Cincinnati, but a couple of losses against teams outside the top 100 as well in KenPom ratings, and that's South Florida and Temple. UCF has only won 2 true road games this season. One was against the weakest team in the conference in East Carolina. The other one's against Ole Miss, a team outside the top 100 in KenPom. So I haven't really been impressed with UCF on the road. Certainly not impressed with their recent form, and I wouldn't want to take them even in the favorite role of only 1 point in a road spot here against a Wichita State team that was missing one of its best, if not its best player, in Craig Porter in the first meeting between these two teams. Wichita State only scored 45 points in that game. It was clear they were missing Porter quite a bit. He's their leading rebounder, one of their best defenders. He's also a double-digit scorer. So, you get Craig Porter back for the second meeting of this season series. You're coming off a nice win on the road by double digits over Tulsa, and I do think that Wichita State has enough to win this game at home. A lot of people are expecting UCF to bounce back one of these days, but just hasn't been the case. And although they have that 63 next to their name at KenPom, they're not playing like it right now. Give me the Wichita State Shockers, I think, to grab a win here. Next up, we go to the Oklahoma-Baylor game in the Big 12. This one's going to be 9 o'clock Eastern on ESPNU. Baylor and Oklahoma, 2 teams that are going in different directions right now. We've seen Baylor win 7 of its last 8 games, and their last win, a 27-point victory over Texas Tech. And yes, this is a down year for Texas Tech in the Big 12, but there is no bad teams in this conference. Even Texas Tech, who's struggling and only has 1 conference win, is still ranked 69th in the country in KenPom. So any win by 20-plus points in this conference is very impressive stuff. And on the other side, we see Oklahoma has lost 5 of its last 6 games. Now, its only win, it was a nice win over Alabama, but that was in the Big 12 SEC Challenge. That was a home game. Now you're on the road here where you haven't really fared too well. In fact, you only have 1 road win all season long, and that was against the weakest team in the conference in Texas Tech, and that game was in overtime. So I don't like your chances if you're Oklahoma. I don't think that Oklahoma matches up very well with Baylor, and although the first meeting between these two was close, that was a game at Oklahoma. I don't like their chances in this one. Give me the Baylor Bears laying the point. I think they win this game by double digits. Next up, we go to the American Conference as South Florida takes on Memphis. This one's going to be a 7 o'clock Eastern start time. It's going to be on ESPN+. And I got to say about South Florida, this is a team that's been a surprise for me. And yes, this team doesn't have a great record. They're 10-13 overall. They're 3-7 in conference play. It's still been a disappointing year overall for the Bulls. But when you look back at what they did at the beginning of the season, they were 0-5 to start the year in non-conference play. They had losses to teams like Southeast Missouri State, Stetson, and Austin Peay. 3 bad upset losses if you're any American Conference team. But they were able to bounce back. They played pretty well the rest of non-conference play. They had a nice win over Hofstra, a top 100 team in KenPom. A nice win over Northern Iowa as well on the road. Tough place to play. They have some conference wins over East Carolina and UCF. The upset win over UCF. And in the first meeting between these teams, Memphis and South Florida, it was a competitive, high-scoring, really entertaining game. It was a road game for South Florida, and they kept in that game. It was a 93-86 final score. And we're not really used to seeing South Florida's offense do something like that, but really in conference play, they've stepped it up offensively. They looked a lot more competitive. They're strong on the offensive glass, which bodes well against a Memphis team that's pretty sloppy on the defensive rebounds. I mean, they're ranked 317th in the country in defensive rebounding percentage. So the Bulls, not a very good shooting team, but they're going to get a lot of second chance looks, in my opinion. And we see a pretty steep total in this game for good reason. We saw the first matchup 93-86. I don't expect a high scoring game like that in the second meeting, but I do expect a competitive game, especially with South Florida at home. They're very tough to beat at home. They've looked a lot more competitive in conference play. And I think at the very least they cover the number here as the home dog. So give me the points here with South Florida. And the final game for Wednesday's card in college basketball, it's going to be Texas Tech and Oklahoma State. This one, 8 o'clock Eastern, is going to be on ESPN+. I mentioned that Texas Tech is having a down year, and they only have one conference win this season, 1-9 in conference play. But I also said that every single team in this conference in the Big 12 is not only ranked in the top 100 in KenPom, but in the top 70. And there's no game in this conference that's going to be easy. Oklahoma State is a good team, and they play very, very well on their home court. They have 3 straight wins, 2 of those wins at home, and they just took down TCU by 6 points at home in their last game. But this is still a very big number to lay with a team that's just known for its defense, doesn't really have great offensive abilities, not really too efficient on the offensive end. They turn the ball over a lot, ranked 312th in the nation, and Texas Tech's able to force plenty of turnovers on defense. So, although I do think Oklahoma State's going to win this game, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game and a pretty close game. I mean, Texas Tech has looked a lot better as of late. They were able to compete with a similar team in Iowa State a couple of games ago. Now, granted, that was a home game for Texas Tech, which is a lot different playing in Lubbock than it is on the road. But I still think the Red Raiders overall have looked a lot better recently. We saw them beat LSU on the road. And although they're coming off that bad loss to Baylor, it was just a bad matchup. Baylor is just not the type of team that Texas Tech is going to match up very well with. But Oklahoma State, a slow-paced team that plays very well defensively. I think Texas Tech can compete with them. I'm going to take Texas Tech in the points. I think Oklahoma State wins. I think the Red Raiders cover. And that's it. Those are the games for Wednesday in college hoops. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.